What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Going In Raw with Shakira Deshawn. Today's episode is one I have put off for a long time. I know this is one that everyone's kind of been waiting for me to speak on. At first, I told myself I was not going to tell this story in full detail because it is very traumatic. And I don't like, this going to sound crazy, but I don't like to paint people in a bad light, but at the same time, I can't have a podcast talking about being real, raw, and transparent if I'm not going to be those things, right? So let's just jump right on into today's episode. I'm going to start from the beginning and kind of work my way up. So I always saw domestic violence. I grew up seeing it as a child. I've seen my mom with black eyes. My dad wasn't around a lot, but when he was around, him and my mom would fight. I've seen him abuse her. I've seen her abuse him. I've seen my mom abuse other people. Like, I've just always grew up around abuse. So it kind of was normalized in a way. I've seen my mom pull a weapon out on my dad. I just saw a lot of traumatic stuff in my childhood. So leading into my adult life, I didn't really, at first, I didn't really see anything wrong with this. So my first relationship after high school, it was mentally and emotionally abusive. It did get physical, but it wasn't physical to where like I was beat black and blue or anything like that. And it was on both of our parts at times. He did open the door for that one day. He choked me, like not choked me out, but like grabbed me by my throat and by my neck. And yeah, one day while I was pregnant, he tried to kick me in my stomach. Another time I didn't want to go somewhere with him, and I was pregnant. I was big and pregnant by now. I didn't want to go with him, and he threw shoes at me. At this point, I didn't fight back because I felt like, looking back, I felt like he kind of resented me for being pregnant, even though I didn't get myself pregnant. I just felt like he resented it a little bit. And I didn't fight back because I didn't want anything to happen to my baby. Like, don't get me wrong, I am a fighter. I will defend myself. But in that moment, I was just thinking about my child. So I didn't fight back. After I delivered, there was another time where I went through his phone while he was asleep, and I saw him texting a girl, and I sat on his chest while he was asleep, and I put my hands on him. So it wasn't just him. It was the both of us. We were very toxic. We just fought. We just fought. He never blacked my eyes or anything, never bruised me or anything like that. It was just we just fought. We were freaking 19, thinking we knew what we were doing, and we didn't. So I ended up leaving that situation because I just knew it wasn't gonna work. And I'm the type of person, when I have enough, and I leave. So I ended up leaving that situation. About 2 years later, maybe like a year and a half later, is when I met my most recent situation, which was my ex. It started out okay. Like, I'm not gonna say everything was just great. At that point in time, it was great. Like, from looking back, of course, hindsight is 2020. But at that time, everything was great. Like, we messed around for like 6 months. We got into a relationship. A year after that, I'm pregnant. We're engaged. We were having problems, but it wasn't anything big. It was kind of outside forces causing problems within our situation. Later in my pregnancy, things started to take a turn. Um, Prior to us being in a relationship, he had an addiction issue. When we got together, he did not have this issue. But me being pregnant and him not knowing how to balance my emotions and how to deal with that, he turned back to what he knew that helped him cope when he was going through things. And it was a pill addiction. So I end up going through that. I went through most of my pregnancy alone. Y'all, this is a really heavy episode. I went through most of my pregnancy by myself with my second daughter. She was planned. We created her, out of love or whatever. Whew. Like I said, I spent a lot of that pregnancy alone. Towards the time I delivered, he was still dealing with his addiction. I delivered the baby. First few months of her life, it was still me doing it mostly by myself. And then I threatened to leave him. I said, I can't live like this. Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what this was supposed to look like. And I threatened to leave him. So in that instance, he decided to get clean. I went through that with him, went through the withdrawals. We made it through. He was clean. Things were finally starting to look up in our life. So fast forward, we're just having regular problems that people have. Now our wedding comes, we get married. Ooh, y'all, I left a part out. So let me rewind back to the engagement and then I'll go to the wedding. So when we got engaged, we were in Colorado. My oldest daughter was there. When he got down on one knee, I covered my face. And not many people know this story. Like, not many people know this. So this is something new to everyone. I wish I had the video because I would definitely show y'all. But in the video, or in the moment, I put my hands over my face. And I put my hands over my face because God was talking to me in that moment and God was telling me no. I'm the type of person, when I love you, I love everything that comes with you. No matter what that looks like, I am a ride or die. I will go through hell and back with you. So in that moment, me and God are going back and forth, and God is like, no, this isn't for you. And I'm like, yeah, God, but we could do this. Like, we can do this. Like, I feel like we can do it. So I ended up saying yes, although God told me no. So fast forward to the wedding. We get married. The day is beautiful. We're both happy. Everything is fine. This is 2018. Fast forward again to 2019. His 30th birthday, I threw him a little party type thing at a restaurant or whatever. Got him a cake, did all this stuff. And this is when I noticed something was off. I had noticed before, but now I'm noticing something's off. He's smoking a cigarette. So I already knew cigarette equals you're back on pills, right? I'm looking, I'm just peeping, and I'm just like, I've seen this before. So prior to me actually seeing it for myself this time, I would ask him, are you back doing that? And he always told me no. But this day, something was different. Like I just felt in my heart and in my soul that he was back, taking pills. So I got upset, of course, like I usually do, but all of the signs weren't there yet. And this second round was way worse than the first round. He started back staying out late, some nights not even coming home at all. Our house ended up flooding. I forgot what it was, a tropical storm. It wasn't a hurricane or anything, but our home ended up flooding. And we pretty much lost everything. After our home flooded, that was like the most alone I had ever felt. It was worse than leaving me alone and pregnant. It was just like, here we go again. Like, the person that I've poured so much into, that I've given so much of me to, is back leaving me alone again. And it just brought up so many other things because I always felt alone in my childhood, and it was just a lot. And our house flooded. We're in a hotel. Every night in this hotel, I'm by myself with these kids. Like, I went through that whole process by myself. He was never there. Fast forward a little more, we get back into our house. I'm telling him that I'm thinking about moving out of that city. I'm thinking about transferring cities, and he could come or he don't have to. But I'm leaving. Me and my kids we're leaving. We're out. Fast forward again to Christmas 2019. No, let's back up. After the house flooded and we get back in our house, we had a conversation, and I was like, these are the way you're treating me. This is the reason people cheat. This is the reason people go out and do other things. And I told him, I said, if I start doing that, I ain't gonna stop. I'm letting you know now. And I feel like he took me for a joke. Fast forward again, another time we got into it again, and I told him, like, your karma is gonna be losing me because I'm the best thing that has ever happened to you. Like, when I tell y'all I changed his life, I don't even want to get into that. That's another story for another day. But I told him, your karma's gonna be me leaving you because I'm never gonna come back. And I feel like he took me for a joke again. So now we're gonna fast forward to Christmas, 2019, Christmas Eve. My children always leave. They would always go to their Mimi's for Christmas Eve. She had all the kids that do activities and hang out or whatever. And I get home, everything closes at 6. Ooh. I get home and I'm wrapping up the last minute gifts that I just bought or whatever. And he comes in the house. I already knew he was about to leave again because he had somebody in the car with him. And he starts an argument with me. And I'm just like, whatever. So I didn't think what was about to happen was really going to happen. I just thought he just starting shit. So he leaves. It's 6. Everything's closed. He leaves. 7 comes. 8. 10 p.m. Midnight. 1 a.m. And I'm crying. I'm crying because everybody on social media is with their families, with their spouses, and I'm at home alone. At that time, I wasn't talking to my mom. I wasn't talking to my family. And that was the most alone I felt. It at this point, it was worse than everything else because it's the holiday. And had I knew you weren't gonna come home, I would have kept my kids. So at least I had somebody there with me. I felt unlovable. I felt unworthy. I felt like I wasn't enough. And the whole time he's fighting his own demons. So he can't see clearly. He can't think clearly because his addiction has him so far gone. And I said that night that I was done. I said I was done. I said I couldn't do it anymore. I took his bank information and I ordered me a bedroom suit. And I said, yeah, you gonna pay for this. Christmas Day is here. It's like 11 in the morning. He's still not home. I get up. I was talking to my sister, my mom's daughter at the time. I got up and I went to her house. I stayed in Houston that for a few days. I went found me an apartment. Like I was like, I'm done. I'm out. This is over. So my bedroom suit, everything gets delivered. He's looking crazy. Okay, so this night he ends up totaling his truck. Like karma's a B word. He ends up totaling his truck. Yada 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 yada. So I'm still at home because it wasn't even time for me to move. It wasn't even nowhere near time. So you know how they get to asking you to stay, asking you to not go, all these things, they gonna stop, things are gonna change. He ended up getting a job interview in the city that I now live in, and he was just like, this is gonna be a fresh start for us. And me wanting my marriage to work out, of course, I fell back into the cycle. We end up going out with some friends a couple days later, or a couple weeks later. And when we got home, of course, I'm drunk, I go to sleep. He comes and wakes me up the next day, and he's went through my iPad. I'm a very calculated person. When I do something, I do it knowing what I'm doing. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm never one of those people that gonna be like, oh, I didn't mean. Nah, I know what I'm doing. So I had screenshots in my iPad purposely because he would always go through my stuff. So he comes and he wakes me up with my iPad and he's like, what is this? It was a guy I had previously dated in college or whatever. We were messaging back and forth. I had, y'all, this is crazy, but I'm transparent. I don't care. And I told him I was going to do it. And I had got my boobs done and I had like showed him my boobs, not like full boobage, but naked, nothing like that. I had just showed him, but I did it on purpose. Everything I do is calculated. I don't care. Like, you're not about to keep dragging me through the mud and think that stuff is sweet. So I screenshotted our messages and I left them in my iPad. So he wakes me up like, what is this? What is this? Y'all, I set up, I looked that man dead in his face and I said, what you mean? I told you what I was going to do. You thought it was a game. And I was like, you done left me in here pregnant by myself, the house full, I'm by my, like, you staying out on that. I don't know what you really out here doing. So like, what you expect? Like, what did you expect to happen? I told you what was going to happen. You didn't believe it. And I rolled back over to go back to sleep. And he gonna tell me, you not sorry? I looked at him, I said, sorry for what? I said, you weren't sorry for all the shit you've been doing. So why would I be sorry? And I went back to sleep. Y'all, I'm real cutthroat. Like, once you push me there, I don't care no more. Like, I don't care. You can't keep sitting up here showing me you don't care and I'm supposed to keep caring. Like, that's not how life works. And he never got to see that side of me because when we fell in love, like, everything was great. So he never knew the side of me that used to dog men too. Like, I'm really like that, for real. Like, I don't care. I was a get back type of person, and I'm gonna get my get back. It's just what it is. So he found out. So now he's trying to walk a straight line. But I know men don't forgive women like women forgive men. So I know that's something he held on to. Moving forward, of course, you ain't trust me before I even did something, so you dang sure don't trust me now. And I don't care. Neither one of us trusted each other. So moving forward, we move to the city we now live in, and stuff is still rocky. Like, stuff is still rocky, and it got to the point where I was like, look, I've had enough, and you need to move out. So he goes and gets his own place. He moves out or whatever. He's doing his thing. I'm doing mine. We're still doing each other every now and then. You know how that goes. And it was just never the same after that. Fast forward a little bit, it's now Halloween. This is COVID time. It's Halloween, and we go out or whatever. He ends up getting into it with some homeless man, and I'm trying to stop him. Like, we both had been drinking. I'm trying to stop him, like, chill out, chill out. Like, I'm pushing his face, like, come on, like, chill out, chill out. Something happens. He ends up throwing me to the ground. The people like, call the police, yada, yada, yada. So at this point, I'm drunk. I walk off or whatever. Some random stranger is like, hey, I'll take you home. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll take you home. I'm like, I don't know you, sir. He was like, look, I promise it's nothing like that. Like, I really just want to make sure you get home. So I'm kind of like, I'm smart. I'm not dumb. So I'm like, okay. Then I realize I don't have my keys. The guy actually lives next door to me, coincidentally. I realized I don't have my freaking keys. And at this point, me and him are not living together. I don't want to say his name, but me and my ex are not living together. He lived on the other side of town. I live on one side of town. So I'm like, okay, but I didn't realize I didn't have my keys till we were almost to my house. And then I'm like, dang, I don't have my keys. So at this point, my ex was in the back of the cop car. I don't know what's going on with that. All I have is my phone. I can't get in contact with him. I have been calling him. Don't really know what's going on. So I go to the guy's house, and we're just sitting. Like, I'm on the couch. He doing his own thing. I end up falling asleep. So by the time I wake up, he done blew my phone up or whatever. So the guy's like, okay, I'll just bring you home. So we get there. This mother effer thinks me and the guy were sleeping together. So he puts his hand on the guy. Y'all, it was just a hot mess, and it wasn't what it looked like it was. So I'm like, you need to go home. Like, you need to go home. You need to go, because this is just too much, trying to just have a cool night with you, and it always escalates. It always freaking escalates. So, y'all know I got ADHD. Let me go back to before we even went out. So I had this cute jumpsuit onesie on, and I asked him to take pictures of me. So when he's taking pictures of me, I know him so well, so I could see it in his face that something's bothering him. Looking back now, I know what's bothering him, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I could see something's bothering him. So he taking big shots and just doing the most. So now we'll fast forward back into the story. So I end up locking him out of the police come because he didn't try to beat the boy up. It was just a hot mess, y'all. I end up locking him out of my house. Like, I end up locking my door so he couldn't get in. He jumps the balcony, gets into my freaking house. It was just a shit show. He finally leaves and goes home. He didn't put his hands on me in my house or anything. Fast forward more now. Now we're into the following year. This was October. Now we're into beginning of 2021. We're still living apart, got our own things going on. He's seeing who he's seeing. I got my own, like, we just got our own things going on. So then he ends up getting me evicted. So what happened was, a guy stole my money. So when the pipes and all that stuff burst from a freeze, they had to come in and out of my apartment to fix stuff. And I had ended up leaving they weren't there. I didn't even know they were coming this day, but I ended up leaving my wallet hanging on the door. I ran to go pick my kids up. Their school was literally 5 minutes away. Come back, I'm sitting down doing something. I open my wallet. I'm like, hold the F up. Where is my money? So I'm calling the office, like, who been in here? Find out who been in here. Of course, I call him to vent to him because he's my best friend. Like, this man is my best friend. So he was always the first person I called. No matter what we were going through, he was always the first person I called. I don't know, but he come over there and beat the people up. Okay? Now I'm evicted. It was so short notice for finding somewhere else that I was just like, I can't find nothing else this freaking short notice. So I was just like, look, me and the girls are just going to stay with you, and I'm going to figure out my next move or whatever. I just need a month or two to figure out my next move. Of course, you fall back into the freaking cycle. You fall back into the cycle, but in my heart, I'm knowing this isn't where I'm supposed to be. But I feel like I'm just in a rock and a hard place at this time. Fast forward a little more to what happened next, y'all. We end up, okay, so a lot of people do not, oh Lord, I'm just sharing all my business with y'all. We end up going to a day drinking spot, this cute little rooftop spot, um, out of town or whatever, and we having a good time. Drinks are flowing. We both get pretty lit. We go back home. I don't know what we're arguing about, but he knows how to trigger me. Like he knows he will do the things he knows I don't like to get a rise out of me. So we start arguing. Now he's putting his finger in my face. He knows that's a trigger for me because my mom used to do that. I do not like you getting in my face at all. And the fact that you're a man and I'm a woman, you shouldn't even be in my face, period. So he ends up getting in my face. He's putting his finger in my face. He's saying the meanest things to me, like the most evil freaking things to me in this moment. And I don't know. All I remember is me blacking out, and I'm sure I hit him. I'm sure I freaking did because I tell you to respect my boundaries. You disrespecting my boundaries, and once I go black, there's no coming back. So I'm assuming I hit him. All I remember is screaming at the top of my lungs. All I remember is screaming at the top of my lungs and holding my shoulder. And then I end up going to sleep. And when I wake up is when I realized what has happened. Because all I remember is screaming and then waking up. I don't even remember going to sleep. I just remember waking up. And I couldn't move my shoulder. It was in excruciating pain, like the worst pain I ever felt in my life. And I go sit down or whatever on the couch, and I'm just like, fuck, like I'm crying because I'm in so much pain, and I really don't know what happened. I end up going to the ER I end up looking in the mirror, I see marks on my neck or whatever, so now I'm like, okay, I'm putting two and two together. I go to the emergency room the next day, and they tell me my collarbone is broken. So what happened was he body slammed me on the ground and broke my collarbone. You know all the promises, I'm never gonna do it again. I'm never gonna put my hands on you again. Like it just escalated and I'm so sorry. All the sorries, all the woos. I'm never gonna do it again. And I forgave him. I forgave him. Because I knew I played a part in that too. Even though it doesn't make it right for what happened, I know I played a part in that. I shouldn't have put my hands on him. We both were wrong. He shouldn't have did what he did. That caused me to do what I did. That caused him to do what he did. So I was just like, I just forgave him. I'm a very forgiving person. That is one of my downfalls. I allow people to continuously hurt me because I love them so much. So that happened. Whew. Forgave him, moved forward. It was still super rocky in between that time. I feel like we were both still doing stuff behind each other's backs. And I feel like I always forgave him, but he never forgave me. So now we get to Thanksgiving Day, 2021. We go to my cousin's house. The day is going kind of smooth. I did not drink at all. I didn't have not one drink. I hadn't eaten. You just feel it's like something be in your spirit. Like I'm telling you, something be in your spirit. Like the whole day was just off. Like he was getting lit. with the guys that were there. He hadn't eaten at all. They're way bigger than him, so he trying to keep up with them. Now he lit out his mind, and just the day just didn't go how the day should have went. So we're on our way home or whatever. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're planning to leave to go to Houston the next day, and everything just seems fine. So we get home, and I sit on the couch, and I'm like, hey, can I talk to you? And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm just like, what was that about? Like, why were you acting like that? Like, you were belligerent. You were out of your mind. We didn't get to play any of the games that we were supposed to play because you were drunk out of your mind. Like, what's the problem? Everything goes left. That's literally all I asked. Everything goes left. I can't remember everything he starts saying, but he just starts rambling at the mouth. So I'm like, I get up because I'm like, we're not about to do this. We're not about to do this. The kids in here, you tripping like you already escalating, and I don't even know why. I don't even know what is going on. I get up to walk away. He comes behind me and he grabs me. And I spin around and I'm like, get off of me. Like, you tripping. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, back the hell up. He grabs me by my neck, slams me up against the fridge. And now I'm starting to go into shock. Because I'm like, oh, this is different. Like, I don't know what the problem is. You look in his eyes and it's just like nothing's there. And I'm like, get off of me. You're tripping. Get off of me. Back up, yada, yada, yada. So I try to get away. He comes after me. He grabs me again. Something happens. I ended up getting my phone and getting out of the house. So when I get out of the house, I call my brother. My brother was my best friend. I call my brother and I'm like, I'm crying and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but he in here tripping. And my brother like, dang, yeah, I was just all right. I'm like, I know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. I say he putting his hands on me. And my brother's like, get your firearm. Like, where your firearm at? I'm going to tell y'all the crazy part in a minute. But I'm like, all right. He ends up coming outside and coming to where I am. I'm like down the street crying, sitting on the curb. He comes to where I am. I get up and I just start running down the street. Like, y'all, I've never experienced anything like this. Like, I've experienced some stuff, and we'll talk about that in the next episode, but this was like a demon. And I'm running down the street. He chases me all the way down. He snatches my phone out of my hand, grabs me by my hair, brings me back into the house. He's talking on my phone, talking crap on my phone. I somehow get away. I get to my firearm and I put it to his head. And I'm like, back up, get away from me. Like, I don't know what your problem is, but no, like, we're not about to do this. Like, one of us gonna leave. And in this moment, it ain't about to be me. So he just steady talking crap and he lunges at me and I pull the trigger. And it jammed. So when it jammed, he snatches it out of my hands. And he grabs me by my throat. He throws me over the couch and he's holding me by my throat. He's holding me by my throat over the couch. He's talking shit to me. And he puts my gun to my head. He clicks it. And he clicks it again. And he clicks it again. And in the moment, I'm just praying. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but if this is it, this is it. And he's still talking crap, and then he ends up pointing it away. He points it away like towards the floor, but he's still talking crap, and the gun go off. And it hits the floor and ricochets out the door. So in that moment, I just really see my life flash before my eyes. Like he's about to unalive me. Like this is it. I can't even say goodbye to my kids, and they're in the other room. I can't even say goodbye. My daughter is losing her mind in there. Somehow he throws me onto the floor. He puts it back to my head. He clicks it a few more times. And then he's just sitting on me and he's just talking crap. He's just like bringing up guys from the past or whatever. And in that, looking back, this moment clicks for me now. And then he just sits on my chest and he knows I get claustrophobic. And in that moment, I just close my eyes and I'm just praying and I'm praying. And he just starts backhanding me across my face. And he does it again. And he's steady talking crap to me. Oh, you want that kind of guy. You want this kind of guy. You want, and just steady smacking me across my face. And I thought I was going to die. He ends up getting up. And then he just sits on the floor in the corner. He just starts crying. And I'm just like, all I'm thinking about is my children. I'm really not thinking about nothing else but my children. And I'm just like, can you please just calm down? I'm like, the kids in here. He's like, F them kids. And yada, like, when I tell you it was a demon in his eyes, like all I saw was black. And somehow it gets blurry again for me. And then I end up getting out of the door and I literally hid under my neighbor's truck to get away from him. And I hear him looking for me and I'm just under there crying and I'm praying. And then cops pull up out of nowhere. Like all these cop cars fly up. And I come from under the truck and he's lying to the cops and all of this. And the cops are like, what's going on? And they shine this light in my face. And honestly, I don't know how they couldn't see for themselves. Cause yeah, he shines the light in my face. And he's like, what's going on? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, officer, it was a heated argument. Things got ugly. I just want to leave. Like, I just want to get my shit and I just want to go. And the officer's like, did he do anything? Did he hurt you? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, no, I just want to go. So in that moment of me saying no was a moment I was protecting him. And looking back, in that moment, I just didn't want him to go to jail. I didn't want his life ruined for this. And it's crazy because I always think about people before myself. I always put everybody else's happiness before my own at that time. I wasn't even thinking about myself. It's like I had lost who I was. I didn't even know who I was anymore for a moment. And the officers were like, okay, just get your stuff or whatever. I get my stuff and I leave. I end up going to my brother's or whatever. I stayed over there for a while, but of course I got to go back. Like my kids got to go to school. I got to figure out my next moves. So I end up going back or whatever. My face, when I looked at my face the next morning, I had bruises all over my body. He had pulled out so much of my hair. The whole side of my face was so big. My eye was the darkest black purple. It was so big. And my kids had to see me like that. And it brought me right back to seeing my mom like that. So yeah, it just brought me right back to seeing my mom like that. And I just knew I'm going to go back here and I'm going to do what I got to do to get me and my kids out of this situation. A part of me wanted to stay because, like, I've seen this my whole life. Like, it's kind of normalized for me. And then I just went through so many emotions, and it ultimately came down to, can I look at my daughters 15, 20 years from now when they're in a relationship and they come to me and their boyfriend has done this to them? Can I look at them and say, leave? How can I tell them to leave if I stayed? That makes me a hypocrite. And looking back at my childhood and how my mom stayed, I don't want that for my kids. Then they grow up like me thinking, it's so these are trials and tribulations. This is just relationships. This is what they go through. And that ultimately helped me make up my mind. And I went and got a job and I ended up leaving. Like, I can't do this no more. Like, I've given so much of me to this relationship. Prior to 2019, him leaving me for Christmas, I wasn't myself. I was the thinnest I had ever been. My life revolved around my marriage and my children. There was no space for me. I left no room for me because I gave everything I had to them. So when that incident happened in 2019, when he left me for Christmas, I changed. Everything about me changed. And he had never saw that. He had never saw me start choosing me. So then you see me choosing, no, you see me messaging this guy I used to date, which I told you was very calculated of me. And then from then we move and you see me choosing myself. You see me dressing up again. You see me, I gained weight. Like, I promised myself that I would never be depressed again that summer. Like, summer 2020, I was like, I'm done. And after that, everything just changed about me. I gained my weight back. I started going out. I started going to Houston, going hang out. I started living for me. I started dressing like I wanted. Like, I was just like, this is about me now. And I feel like for him, he couldn't handle it. He had lost control. He had control for so long. For so long, he could manipulate me, and it would work. Like, one time he told me, yeah, we shouldn't be following any of our exes on social media and yada, yada, yada. Then I find out you following all your exes and you telling them happy birthday and everything else. Like, the manipulation was insane. And now it don't work no more. So in your mind, you've lost control. So now you spiraling. All the things that you were doing, staying out late, doing all that, now I'm doing it. And you can't take it. And that's why you have to be careful what you dish out. Because I'm the type of person, I was the type of person, I'm going to dish it back. Today, I'm just going to leave. I'm out. Goodbye. But back then, I'm going to dish it back because I want you to feel that feeling. I want you to feel that pain I felt because I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve any of it. So looking back, I see that him losing control caused him to spiral. So on that Thanksgiving night, when I got up and tried to walk away from the conversation, he had to regain control. So he came after me. And the night evolved the way it did. Oh, y'all, I feel like a weight has just been lifted off of me. Even sharing this, because like I said, I wasn't going to tell that story in full detail. It's the most traumatic experience of my life. And for it to be at the hands of a person who knew my pain, who literally knew everything about me. He's the first person to know my complete life story. And to hurt me over and over and over. And then to do what you did that night. I honestly don't know how I forgave him. I did it for my kids, though. That's another episode. I don't want to go too far. But addiction is something. And a lot of times we end up choosing what we saw in our childhoods. My mom was an alcoholic. My dad, alcoholic and a drug addict. And then I ended up with an alcoholic slash addict. And although addiction caused all the issues, whether it be alcohol or a pill addiction, you still have control of yourself. And that night, I tried making excuses for him, but I noticed he was still in full control of himself. Like, yeah, part of you wasn't there, but part of you was. And at any point in time, you could have stopped yourself, but you chose not to because you were trying to regain control. Earlier in the episode, I said that I would revisit the firearm subject. So, 2 weeks prior to this incident, I couldn't find my firearm. I have two, and I couldn't find my good one. The one that jams clearly is the one I had, but I just couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So, like a week after the incident, I ended up finding it in the back seat pocket, in my seat pocket in my car, and then I remembered that I had put it there when I valeted my car. But I just say that to say that when it's not your time, it's not your time. And God kept me in that moment. I just knew it was over for me. I knew my life was ending that night. But God kept me. And that night I ran back into his arms, and I've never left. My faith has been getting stronger and stronger over these last few years rather. And looking back, it's like, and I use this for every aspect of my life now, but there was never any peace in that relationship for me. And hindsight is 2020. But God will never allow peace where you aren't supposed to be. And that's something I lean on and I hold very dear to me, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a job. Like, if you're not happy there and there's just never any peace, that's because you're not supposed to be there. And I'm glad I learned that lesson. And just because this incident took place, it doesn't make him a bad person. We both are full of trauma. He has his demons. I, of course, had mine. It's just people deal with things differently. I've always been working on myself. Like I said, I started working on myself at 25. And he was the reason I started working on myself. But God works in mysterious ways. And though those unfortunate circumstances took place, we're still very close. I forgave him, and he's still my best friend. Like, our relationship dynamic is very different today, but he's still my best friend. And I know y'all wonder, how can you forgive somebody that did that to you? And how could you, like, what? Girl, what? I know. And I will definitely touch on that in the next season. It wasn't easy. I'm not even going to go there because I'll get to rambling and talking about it. But just lean on God. Like, God has brought me through so many storms. And I'm learning my purpose. But some days it's still like, I still shouldn't have had to go through all of that. But it is what it is. I'm gaining understanding, and tune into the next episode where we dive completely deep. And after that episode, y'all will completely know me because it's going to be real and it's going to be very transparent. So I'm just going to leave this episode here. And thank you again for tuning in to Going In Raw with the Shakira Deshawn.